Hello, class. Today I'm going to talk about how to be better communicating through writing. And this is incredibly important for the business world, as you can imagine, for all the things that you interact with. The ways that you interact on writing are incredibly important and say a lot about you as a person. Everything from writing an email to your boss, to writing an answer on Quora, to writing exercises, to describing your company, maybe doing a pitch document in the future. There's lots of different types of writing, and it really matters that you're able to communicate your thoughts clearly and concisely through that. So we're going to talk just briefly about this and give you a little background so that when you do your assignment this week, it will make more sense and you'll be able to do it well. Okay, so before you write anything, figure out what type of writing are you doing, okay? So are you storytelling to tell an anecdote about something for no other purpose than to engage and entertain your readers? Are you trying to be argumentative, meaning you're making and defending a point of view? Are you being descriptive? You're outlining something and detailing something and just saying what something is? Or are you selling, wanting to make something attractive and wanting to attract positive attention? These are just 4 examples I came up with, but there's lots of different types of writing. It's important to know what tone you're going to be taking when you sit down to write. And another way that can help you figure that out is to answer what form of writing you're doing. So is it interpersonal communication, which would be like an email, or a marketing piece for an audience, which is like, a brochure and all this information and oh, it's so exciting? Or is it an article to be read, widely read? Sorry, that got cut off. In which case you would want to have a lot of pages of information and a lot of details and things like that, but not as much interpersonal, etc. So it really matters what you're doing and what you're writing for. So make sure that you set out knowing exactly what that is before you even type one single letter. Okay, so sorry this page got formatted a little bit messed up, but the point of it is to, once you select your type of writing, then to figure out what tone and style you want that fits that. And this is incredibly important because, for example, I'm doing a document right now that's a teaching document. I wouldn't do this in a long Word document with multiple paragraphs, etc. That would be incredibly boring. It wouldn't get the point across, and it wouldn't be very instructive to you guys. So instead I chose a PowerPoint document. Unfortunately, one that doesn't seem to work very well, but for the most part, it is the right style to do, which is it's visual, it's terse, and it allows me to elaborate verbally based on it. So a couple ways you can think about this. So the type of writing you're doing, storytelling or argumentative, descriptive, or selling, just 4 examples again. If you're doing storytelling, so this is the difference between, this is the style and the tone. So is it laid back or is it formal? Is it conclusions and evidence or is it more prose-based? Sorry if you can't read that. Is it detailed and very descriptive, like a product manual, or is it more engaging, like something that's interesting and has a lot of colorful words in it? So if you're doing a storytelling, it's probably going to be very laid back and personal. It's probably going to be very prose, and it's probably going to be very engaging. And all of those things should be there. You shouldn't have a very detailed story or a very evidence-based story. There's no need for it. And along similar lines, if it's argumentative, something that's you're arguing a point or you're proving something, it doesn't mean that you have to debate. It just means that you're trying to argue a certain opinion or side of something. Then it's going to be more formal. You're not going to be like, hey guys, I really believe that this is right. You're going to say, this is the right choice because X, Y, and Z. You're going to make conclusions and have lots and lots and lots of evidence because otherwise you're not going to be able to support your point. And it is going to be very detailed because you want to have a lot of information in there and you don't want it to be salesy. You want it to be fact-based. Something that's descriptive could be either laid back or formal. It's either describing a product or you're describing an idea. You might have both conclusions and evidence, and it might be somewhat prosy when you're doing your summary or an introduction or something like that. And detailed and engaging, it could have both. So this is probably where you're going to fall for this particular exercise, is more of a descriptive character, which of course isn't easy because then you're going to have to be all of these things. But it'll be interesting to see you talk about your dream idea in all of these terms. And then finally, you have a sales piece or a marketing piece. You're selling something. Well, you could be laid back. If you're selling something like a can of Coke or something, you'd probably be pretty laid back. Or you could be more formal if you're selling a Swiss watch or life insurance. your conclusions and evidence versus prose, probably both. It depends again on the product, as well as detailed and engaging. So basically, you can make this matrix however you want, but the point of it is to understand how to use the right style and tone for whatever type of writing you're using. Here's an example of wrong style and tone, things that really don't fit well together. So you're asking a stranger for help. It could be a mentor, it could be someone you found on Quora, it could be anybody. The point is they're a little bit more advanced than you professionally, and you want to get their opinion and advice. So let's pretend someone's sending this to me. I'm sending it, I'm sending it to someone. I'd say, hey, Ellen, I'm such a big fan. You started a company. That's so cool. I'm really interested in that too. I work for my job now I don't like, but my dream is a startup. Can you help? Thanks, bye. And then a little emoticon at the end. So that's a terrible email. As you can imagine, the tone is incredibly informal. It's not descriptive at all. It doesn't have any details in it. And it's not very polite, which is not at all the tone you want to strike. So another bad example is this first lesson that you guys are having is your proposal for your dream idea. So this is a bad example of what a dream idea would be. My dream is to solve issues of healthcare distribution in rural areas. So far, that's fine. This matters to me because my favorite professor in school talked about it. Okay, I guess that's fine. I really think it's important, and I'm going to talk about how important it is for 5 paragraphs. Well, that's fine, except that you don't actually talk about what your dream idea is at all. You only talk about the motivation for it, which is not... It has a little bit more generic content and needs more specific in it. So those are just 2 examples of what doesn't work and why it doesn't work. So here's an example of something that does work. I redid the first example, which is a letter to someone who's more senior than me who I'm asking for help. Big shot, Mr. Big Shot Entrepreneur. Let's just pretend that's his or her name. I know you're busy. I'd like a moment of your time. So here I'm being polite. Nice. I'm an admirer of yours, what you've done, how you've taken your vision, and through hard work and focus created a product that changes the way we communicate. So this part is cool because it's specific. It shows that I actually have done my homework and I know about this person enough to write something that's unique to them, not just saying generically, oh, you're so great, etc. I'm starting down an entrepreneurship path driven by my own passions to help people communicate. So here I get very personal, talking about why this is interesting to me so that he or she can see that I'm really interested in this. But I'm struggling with a few things that I know you faced early on. I would like to ask you a few questions at your convenience. So here I'm specific about the ask. And that is very important because people who don't have a lot of time, you want to say, here's what I need, here's why, and exactly what I need from you, no more. And I would love to ask you a few questions at your convenience, and also this is very polite. Yay. Okay, so that's an example of something that does work when you have the tone and style right. So let's get into the details of how to write effectively. And I'm going to keep this high level because I'll give you feedback, individual feedback on your first lesson that gives you more specific about your writing. But first, as I mentioned in the beginning of this lesson, organize and outline your thoughts first. Know what you want to say. Specifically, what is it that you want to communicate? I want to communicate that this idea is good. I want to communicate that I don't have an idea. I want to communicate that everything else that exists is bad, therefore I need to have this. Figure out what you want to say first before you start writing. And then figure out what does your reader need to know? When your reader puts this down and has read the whole thing, what do you want them to be thinking? What do you want them to be considering? What do you want them to have in their head? So put yourself in their mind and write to what you think that would be. What other things do you need to include? So if you want to say that this is the best idea ever, what kind of information do you need to include to support that? Do you have to support that? Should you support that? Should you include a description about what you're talking about? Or should you just call it a name, etc.? How detailed do you want to be? And then finally, how should you structure your writing? So for this example, for this lesson, you're going to be very structured. But again, this would go back to what type of writing are you doing? Is it a marketing writing or is it an argumentative, etc.? For this, you want to be very structured. So we're going to continue with structure very clearly, which means start with what you're saying, why, and then go through the key points and supporting evidence for each of the things. So basically, you want to have it, there's 3. There's 4 and 3. So those are the very messy parts. First, start with what you were saying, so introduce it. This is what I'm interested in, and this is why I'm interested in it, and then here are my key points of what I think it's going to be, etc., and why, and then here's my conclusion, summing it up, etc. So make it very clear for your reader. Okay, and the last page is about how to write effectively, and this is just more information about how to just seriously use visual spaces, bolds, indents, pictures that embellish what you're saying, that really feed into it. Make it easy for someone to skim, because chances are no one is going to be reading each word. Like, you're not reading each word of these pages, I hope. You're skimming it. So use things that really help the reader attach to the most important words. I've seen a lot of people bold words that are not the key points. You should not bold words that are interesting. You should bold the words that are the key points, so that people are constantly looking through what your argument is. And then after you're done, after you've written it, go back and edit and ask yourself these questions. Is my point clear? Am I making the point that I'm trying to make? Did I provide enough details? Are there details that someone might want that are missing? Is it interesting and readable and compelling? Does my reader care about this? Do they want to finish it? Do I have a clear, effective evidence? Do I have too much? Can I reduce? This is always my thing. Can I reduce words? For example, I could just say that. Do I have too much? Do the visuals add value? Don't use any visuals that don't add value. They're stupid, they're annoying, and they're immature. Only add things that add information, okay? Don't use a visual to sum up your points. And finally, what do I think my reader will feel? Are they going to feel excited? Are they going to feel bored? Are they going to feel energized? Those are things that you want to convey. This is your dream you're talking about, so get excited about it and get your reader excited about it. Okay, again, we'll give more specific feedback once you've written them, but that's just an overview to get you started. Good luck.